Congratulations. You are halfway there. Mr. Bearlington is becoming more and more comfortable in his new surroundings, so that means you are doing a wonderful job. Today, Mr. Bearlington would like to enjoy a story. The link to the appropriate story has been sent to your email. He would prefer that you read it. Please use different voices for the different characters. And remember, follow the instructions exactly. Any mistakes will cause you to be disqualified and you will have to refund the money. Thank you.
The true story of Red Riding Hood. There once was a sweet little maid who lived alone with her mother in a pretty little cottage at the end of the village. At the further end of the wood was another pretty cottage, and in it lived her grandmother. Everybody loved this little girl. Her grandmother perhaps loved her the most of all and gave her a great many pretty things. Once, she gave her a red cloak with a hood, which she always wore, so people called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother said, "Put on your things and go see your grandmother. She's been ill. Take along this basket of food for her. I've put in it eggs, butter, and cake, and other dainties." It was a bright and sunny morning. Red Riding Hood was so happy that at first she wanted to dance through the wood. All around her grew pretty wild flowers, which she loved so well, and she stopped to pick a bunch for her grandmother. "Good morning, Little Red Riding Hood." Little Red Riding Hood turned around and saw a great big wolf. But Little Red Riding Hood did not know what a wicked beast the wolf was, so she was not afraid. "What have you in the basket, Little Red Riding Hood?" "Eggs and butter and cake, Mr. Wolf." "Where are you going with that, Little Red Riding Hood?" "I'm going to my grandmother, who is ill, Mr. Wolf." "Where does your grandmother live, Little Red Riding Hood?" "Along that path past the wild rose bushes, then through the gate at the end of the wood, Mr. Wolf." Then Mr. Wolf again said good morning and set off, and Little Red Riding Hood again went to search of wild flowers. At last, he reached the porch, covered with flowers, and knocked at the door of the cottage. "Who's there?" called the grandmother. "Little Red Riding Hood," said the wicked wolf. "Press the latch and open the door and walk in," said the grandmother. The wolf pressed the latch and walked in where the grandmother lay in bed. He made one jump at her and gobbled her up in a single bite. Then the wolf put on the cap which she had dropped and crept under the bedclothes. In a short while, Little Red Riding Hood knocked at the door and walked in, saying, Grandmother, I've brought you eggs, butter, and cake, and here's a bunch of flowers I gathered in the wood." As she came near the bed, she said, "What big ears you have, Grandmother." "All the better to hear you with, my dear." "What big eyes you have, Grandmother." "All the better to see you with, my dear." "But Grandmother, what a big nose you have." "All the better to smell you with, my dear." "But Grandmother, what a big mouth you have." "All the better to eat you up with, my dear," he said as he sprang at Little Red Riding Hood and swallowed the young girl in a single gulp. No one ever saw Red Riding Hood or her grandmother ever again. I thought it had a happier ending.